Hi, this is Dan Devlin for the Detective Dan Devlin Show. Honorable people, honorable nation. And I'll remind you, because we always need to keep it in mind, we cannot have an honorable nation if we do not have honorable people. Today's program, we're going to continue our series on solutions. And our focus today is going to be on what's happening in American society with the issue of illegal aliens or immigration, or how we are as a compassionate people and a compassionate society. That's a bunch to cover. But it's all intermingled, because oftentimes many of the issues that we cover can be looked at from an emotional viewpoint or a practical, even legal viewpoint. And they're not always able to fit together without serious consideration. And you know our position on solutions requires careful consideration about the things that are at issue, such as immigration. Currently, in March, there's going to be an end to a program referred to as DACA, which allowed people who were illegally here in the country to stay at least for a period of time until we figured out how to handle their future and our future as a nation. I talked about compassion, and we're going to go at this subject with compassion, but trying to meet all the needs that we need to meet in order to do this legally the way the laws were set up in the first place. It's hard to make everyone happy. You literally change a nation when you allow large groups of people to stay or live or become citizens in your country who may have different backgrounds, maybe even different loyalties. I want to go back to, and you've heard me mention it before, I want to go to the Central Highlands of Vietnam. And on numerous occasions, we would be in a situation where we would approach a dump. And if you think there's heartbreaking things that go on in war, try looking at young human beings, people, toddlers, without a stitch of clothes, wandering around in this dump with broken glass, cans that have jagged edges, searching for a couple beans, a little piece of fruit, a cracker, in order to sustain their life. We've got some background noise. I don't know if that's going to show up in our program here, but I don't know if there's a way to, cut that program that's on or not, Greg. But if there is, maybe we want to try to turn that down. Okay, if not, I think you're going to be listening to a football game or something as well. So it's important to pay attention, because while I'm a fan of football, and it's very easy to get caught up in our sports and forget about these things that are going on that we need viable solutions for. And I want to take you back to the Central Highlands of Vietnam. And I think it would be difficult for any soldier to see these things happen and not have compassion for those young people who are just trying to survive. There are so many orphans in war zones, you don't know whether there's anybody to take care of these young people or not. But my heart wanted to make some provision for this young man. And I'm thinking of one in particular. I can see him today. I see him often. How do I do that? And I thought, when I leave, maybe I could adopt him. Maybe I could take him with me. But then you look to your right and your left, you look at the next town, and there are so many. How do we do this? Well, one of the answers is, instead of then taking them with us, is to see what we can do in order to help a member of their family be able to take care of them. In many countries, $1 from the United States goes quite a long way. Several or $10 or $100 can change people's lives dramatically. So maybe we can do the things that can help their community, so these young people have some stability in their life. But I want to take that example, and now I want to look at what's happening in the United States. We have many people who now may even actually be in their 30s. But they came here to the United States not of their own accord in most cases, but because their parents or someone brought them here. They didn't ask to come, and as often is the case with young people, they're kind of pawns, if you know the game of chess. They're just kind of go along, and they're used by people around them in order to accomplish certain goals. If they're a family member, their parents don't want to leave their children behind, so they take them with them. Did they come here illegally? The answer is yes. But in talking to a great friend earlier in the day, he spoke very well and very thoughtfully about considering their point of view. It's a fact we have laws and they never should have been here in the first place. But as we spoke, I pointed out that our problem is not that they tried to come here. We had laws that should have been enforced, and it was illegal to allow them to stay here. Our officials not only allowed them, but they did what is against laws of the United States, which were supposed to be enforced, and instead they aided the people who were here illegally. When they did that, they not only created a problem for the United States, they also created a bigger problem for these young people who had no say whatsoever as to where they were going to live. When we look at solutions, we try to listen carefully. And this friend of mine is very good at listening. Not just listening from the point of view of, okay, let me hear what you have to say, and then I want to get on to what I want to say. But he and I, in our conversation, truly, because it's a love. We love each other because we have respect for each other. We want to do the best for each other because we want to do the best for the people around us, our family, our community, and our nation. And because we know that's the objective, and because we want the best, the right and just solution, it's always wonderful to spend the time talking with him. Because unlike many of the people that I deal with, he doesn't become furious. He doesn't refuse to see my point of view. He knows that I care as much as he cares about making the most honorable society, about allowing us to be the most responsible, the most honorable people that we can be. And he knows, as I hope you know, is that only occurs when we can have enough respect for others as we want them to have respect for us, our opinions, and our views. It's a wonderful thing to sit in a room with people who maybe even will express the feeling that they hate the people who are also in that room, who talk viciously and violently, who come at things only from their perspective and want to hear no one else's perspective, and to see them begin to see another point of view. In order to solve the problems that we have in American society, and really all over the world, it takes the effort to see if there is a new direction. Why does everything have to be my way? Well, it may have to be if that's the correct way. But I've learned long ago that I can certainly be wrong. And I think it's important to understand that that's a reality with most of us. And I would say all of us. And if we understand that, we understand how important it is to see another person's point of view if we really want a right and just solution. So in the case of immigration, we have people who want to throw these young people out of the country. And in many ways that's justified because they've been here illegally. They've already had the advantage of, an education or the other things that we have in American society, far beyond the people who didn't come here illegally, who still remained in their country, and far beyond the people who got in line and tried to come into this country legally. But as we spoke, we understood that the reality is that we have a complex problem here, and the objective is to find the right and just solution, not just a solution. And because that is the objective, you then begin to try to see from a number of points of view. And in looking at this situation, people have a valid position that says that these people do not belong here. Our laws forbid them to be here. But we're human beings. We have the ability to try to create a solution that is most just for all. And so if you look at the situation and you say, compassion, which I know many of you have an abundance of, would say, wait a minute, we have to do something for these people. So what do we do? How do we make sure the law is upheld and allow people who are here illegally to stay? And what about their future? We know that many of them, this is the only country that they've known. But that doesn't change the fact that officials in our government acted illegally and ignored the reality that those individuals should have been deported removed from this nation when they were still very young. And what would have happened? They would have gone back to their countries. They would have had a normal life. They would have lived in a community. They would have grown up and been whoever they're going to be. Some people use the term displaced persons. Displaced from where they were at one time, and now they're in this state of limbo, in a state where they don't know what their future is going to be. And so looking at this situation, is it possible for us to come together with a reasonable, just solution? Not ignoring the need for compassion, but not giving way to it entirely either. You know, in our series on solutions, we make proposals of possible solutions, and you get to do what you want with that. The position of the United States government from a legal standpoint is that these individuals must be removed. But you and I know that there are many people in the United States who have something called visas, who have permission to stay here in this country. And while I believe that it would be wrong to take people who are here illegally and put them ahead of the line of people who obeyed the law, we also have to take responsibility for our own actions as a nation and take responsibility for what we've allowed our government officials to do that helped create this problem. So, if these young people had a legal status to be here, and if they then had to apply for citizenship, not ahead of those who are now waiting, but behind those who are now waiting. And because we have compassion, we need to understand, perhaps because of the wrongs that we've done, we need to say, in the meantime, as long as you abide by our laws, as long as you contribute to what our society is, you're welcome to stay on an extended basis. And yes, we could arbitrarily set a time. And at that time, if they haven't gone through the citizenship process successfully, then I think it's justified to say your time is up. But most of them would probably choose that path and would go through that process and be very grateful for a nation who understood their particular situation. On the other hand, there's another possibility. People may choose to stay here because things are going well for them. But there may be many that it's not going well for them. Maybe they're not contributing to what our society should be. And when it comes to illegal behavior, that should be dealt with as well, and that is justification for deportation. But there is another opportunity that might be available that they may choose to take advantage of. Many of them have acquired an education here in the United States. And whatever country they were originally from, many of them may still have ties. Perhaps their grandparents, maybe they've been back to their country. It doesn't necessarily have to be a situation where they would never want to go back. And if that were the case, if we could provide them, not as a gift for no reason whatsoever, but provide them an opportunity because we understand they really had no choice in what happened to them. And so whether it's through organizations that provide aid, that take contributions, or whether it's through a generally accepted means by our government officials, and through funds that you and I contribute. Is it not possible that many of these people would say, I would like to go back to where I was born. I would like to go back to my country so I can help make it better. Because I've learned a standard, I've learned a process, I've learned compassion, and I need to bring that to the country of my origin. And it would be helpful if I had some means to be able to return to establish myself in a position where I could then succeed and make my country a better place. President Trump he's been criticized because he said what some people think is a derogatory term about some countries because they're not advancing and they're hurting their people. And I can tell you for a fact that to see a nation torn where they abuse the people and there's no consideration for the people who are needy, who are suffering, who are in pain and disease and starving. What can we do about it? The people who are here from those countries who would be in this group of young people may be just what we need in order to provide what those countries need in order to become better nations. Obviously, I don't know the answer to all of these things. But it takes considering these things and seeing that there may be opportunities that we're missing. And if someone had an opportunity to go back to his nation, to work in a village, or in a city, or at the national level, in order to make his nation better, is that not something we would all want? So, this immigration situation, or illegal alien situation, the DACA situation, whatever you want to refer to it as, instead of being a problem, it may very well be if we stop and we consider these things, and we need to consider even more. But it may, in reality, be a test for us as human beings. Not simply of compassion, and saying, let's let them all stay, give them citizenship right away, but to say this may be an opportunity for us as human beings, as people from the United States of America who care deeply about others, to be able to help many other nations have access to the people who can help them become better people and a better nation. It's all about trying to be the best people we can be, in my humble opinion. Remember, to have an honorable nation, we must have honorable people. And to be honorable people, we must treat people as we would like to be treated ourselves. Laws matter. I don't want to violate the laws of the United States when it comes to that area of immigration. It is a fruitless, wrong act to reward anyone who violates legitimate laws. I see no path out of doing that other than more disaster. Back to the highlands of Vietnam, you see how people, not only there but around the world, have needs. If we're compassionate people, why are we not taking all these people? Why do we not open our doors and say, you are welcome? We don't care where you're coming from, come into this nation. Now, even the people who are so compassionate that they would like to do that understand as I understood in the Central Highlands of Vietnam. I do not have the resources, I did not have the resources, the ability to take all who were in need. But there's an expression of giving someone a fish or teaching them how to fish. And the ideal behind it, the idea, the concept, is that to teach them to fish, they become independent on their own. They become the people who are self-sustaining, which is far superior, far better than to have them dependent upon us for the rest of their lives. We've created situations like this in American society. We need to stop, and in the issue of immigration, we need to think. And I trust, with some of the information that we provided, that you may see this issue in a different way. You think about that. I hope to see you again. God bless you all. This is Dan Devlin for the Detective Dan Devlin Show. Honorable people, honorable nation.